This is called Shireen Lament for the Death of a Young Airwoman. I did not know anything about it. How was I to know? The sky was perfectly clear. There was not a cloud of sorrow on the face of the sky. There was no wind of betrayal stirring the leaves of the trees. So I did not know that death was marking out a track for Shireen through that sky. I did not believe for a moment that the laughter left her eyes, that her face did not continue to reflect the colour of the sun, and so death fooled no one but himself. But I did not know. I did not hear the shriek of the wind as the plane passed it. I did not feel the earth tremble with the impact, nor note the slight shadow that raced across the sun. But my heart knew it, and the telegraph wires picked it up and conveyed it to my brain. My heart knew it because it was already empty when my mind said, "Shireen is gone." And as I said the words, a leaf dropped from a tree. A bird suddenly left its nest to look for food for its young. The thought came to a young mother to look at her child. There was a slight shiver in the blue curtain of the atmosphere, as though one of its rings had noiselessly slipped off its rod. And an old man looked up, and it was as though a screen slid back from across his eyes, leaving them open and giving him, for one moment, a clear view. My brain said, "Shireen is gone." But my heart rejected the empty word. A sea had risen up over its natural boundary. A wavelet of salt water had overflowed into the crystal lake. A glass full of wine in being passed had slipped, and its contents were spreading over the marble floor. The guest was saying goodbye, but the host did not hear him. He was remembering the music of a certain fountain in a place where he had spent some of his boyhood. Nothing had really occurred. The atmosphere was serene. A bird had soared into the blue, and a feather had dropped from its wing, and a dog, sniffling along the highway, stopped in its tracks and chased it for a moment as it passed him. A ray of sun had filtered into the prison yard, and the prisoners had looked up for a moment and remembered beaches where an ocean raced over white sand. A rain cloud had passed over the plains, a few drops fell, and the earth had opened its parched mouth for the deluge, and the cattle, who had left off pawing the ground, stood gazing vacantly at the horizon. Nothing had really happened. But to the children marching up out of the earth, to the lovers seeking to focus their ardour, a light is denied them. To the women in labour, to the men fretfully at evening, a comfort is withheld. To the bird flocks and the grasses and the compassionate lambs, an impulse is lost. Shireen was the best of young women. She was a young moon full of possibility. Hers was the potential gift of laying pathways along the earth. But who of us cared about the moon, accepting mirror-wise of his own desires? Who cared to put aside weaving the net of his own foolishness, to pick up the thread of her calamity? The death of Shireen was the triumph of us, the mean little men who befriended her. The triumph of the telegraph wires which fretted the event to our nerves and startled them to attunement with empty sorrow.